I'm getting a little bit of feedback. It's 12:05.
This meeting is being transcribed and summarized.
Let's call this special meeting to order. There is a quorum. I see myself on here. I see Derek's on here, our vice president. Laverne is on here. Our secretary, Crystal's on here, and Al is in person, although I can't see him anymore. You guys disappeared. And I don't. Did you say Josh was on here? I don't see him.
Josh is in person. So I don't know why you can't see us because we see.
Yeah, I did see you, but now all I see is Amanda's. I don't see the picture of you guys, Laverne or Crystal. Do you guys see the group?
I can see you, and that's all.
As a participant, I can see everyone.
Awesome, okay. So it must be just the panelists that.
Yeah, initially I could see it. Now I can't.
I can see everyone. Also hear feedback from the main office's
Yeah.
microphone.
All right, so I'll just rely on audio cues just to make sure. But let's go with an approval of the minutes from October 22nd. Did everybody have an opportunity to review those?
So we need to take that off of the agenda. Those are not ready. He will. Are you guys still hearing the feedback?
Not now.
Let's see.
Okay, it was the heat going. So, all right, I just want to make sure we've been having a lot of issues with our internet and Wi-Fi. So I wanted to make sure everybody's good. But for the
Laverne, Crystal, are you hearing them?
No,
No, we don't hear you all.
Yeah, we don't hear you anymore.
I don't hear Rui.
I see Amanda is still
I just
on.
see you. I just hear you all. I don't hear anybody else.
Yeah, they went out.
Maybe she disconnected to reconnect.
I just texted her in the message to see if she got it because we can't hear.
now.
Hold on.
Can hear you.
Can hear us.
Can you guys hear us now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, and now I can see you guys too. Yep, perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so
Okay.
we're on the laptop and I apologize because we did a test and everything before the meeting. I don't know. I think they're installing cable and stuff in a new building not far from here because we've had major interruptions a lot over the last couple of weeks. So anyway, I apologize for those technical difficulties. As I was saying, I removed I want to remove the minutes from the agenda since this was a special meeting for the specific purpose of the early voting sites. And I also didn't want to confuse anybody that read those minutes since at the last meeting, we also reviewed early voting and ballot box sites. I thought it would be best for you to approve both sets of minutes on December 10th, because we're just meeting in a couple weeks anyway. And then that way, anybody that looks at our website will get the full picture and not be confused.
That's fine. So we'll take that off of there.
I did want to ask you if you don't mind and the board doesn't mind to indulge me for about 1 minute so I'm able to provide a redistricting progress update.
Okay.
Do you want me to do that now, President Fuhrer?
Sure, absolutely.
All right, well, thank you. So as far as redistricting, you know, the map, the council matic map was approved in mid-September on the 15th, and then it was enacted per charter 45 days later, which was November 1st. We started working on it due to the fact that the Board of Ed will now have lines. Historically, they followed the council lines. The pre-work is taken a little bit longer because there's a lot of cuts, because Board of Ed will now be 7 districts that mirrored the old 7 council districts, and then now we're implementing the new 9 council districts. We expect to be finished that pre-work by this week. We're in election district 15 now, which is exciting news. And then that means we can start the data entry in the statewide voter registration system, which is expected to be completed no later than mid-December. And we're going to proof as we do it, which will help speed up the process. And then shortly after that time, we will notify every voter in Baltimore County of their new or their, you know, the council district, but they'll also be notified that we now have school board districts. And we'll send that mailing out as soon as possible after the redistricting is finished. But I feel like we're doing very good considering the number of cuts and splits that the, you know, the difference in the school board and the council lines have made, because now we have 5 lines instead of 4 in our jurisdiction. So with that, unless there's any questions, President Fuhrer, we can move on.
Yeah, I don't have any, but does anybody from the board have any questions or comments?
No.
What's the anticipated completion date of moving all those lines?
So thank you for that question. My hope is to have it in the statewide, you know, in the voter registration system by mid-December. And then we're going to proof as we go along, but then we're going to do a final proof. And, you know, I have to take into account holidays as well, you know, through then in November and December. And also my team trying to use their leave so they too don't lose leave. My hope is to be completely finished before the end of the year. And so that the voter notification cards and information goes out in January.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And just as a side note, we are going to have more precincts than we had before because of the cuts and splits, but we're doing what we can to consolidate the precincts. So we still are able to provide precinct level reporting. However, because we don't have the ability right now to purchase new equipment, new voting system, statewide, we will have more precincts than we had in 2024, which means more ballot styles and things like that. So do you want me to move on to the election plan?
Yes. Yep. If you want to
Okay.
jump into number 4, the 2026 election plan.
Yes. So I emailed electronically. I sent the board the maps. We unfortunately, I was not able to work out with the administration and Rec and Parks to be able to use the bigger building in Middle River, which either Middle River Activity Center or the new Rosedale Activity Center. I was hopeful, but I didn't get there, but I was able to make arrangements with property management for them to push the construction schedule at Victory Villa so that we can use that Middle River location. I was given, I don't know, 4 or 5 other alternates, but all of them were miles away from Victory Villa, and it put us out. It disenfranchised more than 10,000 voters, and I did not want to do that. And it also moved us too far to the east where we weren't making sure that we considered the minority population, voter density, median income, and all of the other things that we need to consider. So I let the administration know that I would not be able to move forward and recommend that to the board. but I do feel comfortable recommending to continue using Victory Villa. So, Amanda will put up the presentation, and a lot of it is similar to what, you saw when we, went over this at the last meeting. We'll start with the ballot box locations. In 2024, we had 35 locations, and now I'm proposing to have 38. The reason I need you to re-vote on this is because we included Middle River Activity Center, but now the ballot box will be relocate or back at Victory Villa. So there's no relocation of that ballot box. Otherwise, the other 37 locations are the same locations that the board discussed and approved during the last board meeting on October 27th. We have 6 ballot box locations out of 6 that are new. 2 of those 6 new locations are additional ballot boxes that I believe will better serve our voters. And then, so can you go to the page that has,
Yeah,
go to the page that has all 38, please?
ballot boxes.
Yeah, it's close to the front.
Sorry.
That's all right. No worries. Right there, page 4. Yep. So here's the list, and it's the same list that you all received. The only difference is, Victory Villa replaces the Middle River. Victory Villa and Middle River, Activity Center are about a mile apart. So I sent you all the buffer map so you could see we're still touching the voters, and we have that 5-mile reach that we want, because the locations are so close together. It does not affect our percentage. We're still above 93% for our county, and we still are making sure that ballot boxes are available in disenfranchised communities close to public transportation where there's high voter turnout and voter density. Some of the other.
Excuse me, Roy. I'm not seeing anything on the screen. I'm not seeing anything. Has something been put up? I don't see anything.
All right, Amanda's, yeah, because
I
she
don't
has
see
it sharing the screen. Can anybody see what she's sharing?
Yes.
I don't
You
Yes.
see
may
it.
you may have to
Yes.
change your view, Laverne, in the
Change
top
the what?
right. Change your view to speaker mode instead of gallery.
I don't know. Okay. I'm not, I don't know how to do that. Okay. Don't worry
Okay.
about
So Laverne, I emailed you the
it.
PowerPoint as
Yes.
well. Yeah, so
Yes.
we're on I think it's like page 5. I was just gonna remind everybody of the new locations, which is CCBC and Hunt Valley, which would replace Oregon Ridge, because if you remember, Oregon Ridge is the location where they lock the gate at 6 o'clock at night and our voters can't get to it all the time. And then also Oregon Ridge is kind of out of the way, and CCBC Hunt Valley is right off of York Road. So it's more convenient location. Another new location would be Dunmartin Middle School, and that's because House and High has planned construction. So I don't want a ballot box at a school or where there's going to be construction, which might create a problem with the voters trying to get to that box. And then Rosedale Recreation Center, that box really helps the voters in that area, in that population. If you remember, that's one of the places that we wanted to try to do an early voting center. And I believe that there's a lot of voters that can walk to that location, and it will also be more convenient for our voters. Another new location was Ridgely Middle School, which replaces Delaney High School. And that's due to planned construction. And then Pikesville Library, right next to where the state police, is located on Reisterstown Road. We'll add a box there. That would be replacing Millbrook Elementary, which is way back in the back and had very, very low ballot, retrieval numbers. So the Pikesville Library seemed like a more voter friendly and convenient location, providing better access for the voters. And then finally, there'll be a box placed at the historical courthouse. The exact location we don't know yet, because we have to wait and meet with property management and OIT so that we can verify where the cameras are. The property management and DPW will help us figure out parking and how voters can pull up and things like that. And that isn't gonna take place until after the beginning of the year, when we decide the exact locations at all of our locations. We have a sky view map, and we indicate the exact location on those maps for delivery. So I will give you more information on that as it becomes available, but all of the things that you all brought to my attention, Amanda and I have preliminarily spoken to both the director of Rec and Park, property management, and also the person at OIT that does the cameras, so we get a good camera view. And they know that, they understand the importance of finding a location around the courthouse that will be convenient for voters, both walking to it and driving up to it. And then, like I said, I emailed you all the 5 mile and the buffer maps to show you that this change is really, there's no change from having the only location that's different from the last presentation is Victory Villa. We're gonna put one back at Victory Villa rather than Middle River. And it makes no change in our reach to our voters and our percentage throughout the entire county. The ballot boxes have been no, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry, because I flipped the page. Oh, the ballot boxes will be, we'll start retrieving ballots from the ballot boxes approximately 45 days before voting, and following the federal law MOVE Act, which is when the ballots to overseas voters start being mailed out. We'll start retrieval the same day that the boxes are delivered. And with that, that ends my presentation on the ballot box. And I can take questions, or President Fuhrer, I don't know if you want to do public comment for this and then move on to early voting sites. You can minimize your screen. Oh, okay, never mind. Is Will still? Is
I
everybody
keep switching
still?
from my headphones to not so I can hear you, because sometimes it's hard.
Okay.
Any comments or questions from the board? Where'd you all go? Just make sure I got you all. There you are.
Just one. What day did you say the boxes were gonna be delivered again? I apologize.
So the exact date, I don't know, because it's the state determines the delivery schedule, but it's at least 45 days before the primary election day. So it's in May. And the date is set by the federal MOVE Act. And although we might be the week before, so it could be the week of 45 days or the week before 45 days, whatever day they're delivered, we start doing pickups that day, just in case a voter puts a application or something else in the box. As we get closer, Crystal, I'll be able to give you a more definitive date.
Oh, no, thank you. I just want to make sure I didn't miss the date, but thank you. Yeah.
So President Fuhrer, do you want to see if there's any public comment on the, I can't tell because we're sharing the screen. I can't tell if we have visitors, but if you wanted to do public comment for the ballot boxes, and then we can move on to
Sure,
early
yeah,
voting.
I don't see much, but I'll ask from anyone viewing if there's any public comments, if anyone would like to weigh in on what Director Lavoie has just mentioned. All right, seeing none. Nobody else in your office, right? It's just you guys?
Right. That's correct.
Do you want us to entertain a motion so that we can accept these then?
Sure, yes.
All right, if there's no further comments from the board, is anyone interested in making a motion to accept those as presented? Anyone? Anybody's talking. I got mics muted. Anybody? I can't hear. Did anybody make a motion? Because we'll need a motion and a second.
Okay, so last board meeting, you all motioned and seconded and approved it. The only change is Middle River Activity Center. The ballot box will go to Victory Villa. So I don't know, is it because you guys can't hear us? I don't know. I know Derek said that, he's muted.
I
No,
would,
that wasn't him. He just unmuted. Okay,
I would like to make a motion that we accept the change with Victory Villa um, for the ballot boxes.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. That was Crystal, right? Yep. Okay. Any further discussion or comments? If not, all those in favor? I'll say aye. I don't know if you raise your hand or say aye just so we can tell since we are hybrid.
Aye. Aye.
All right. And then any
wait a
against?
minute. Al, are you voting?
I'm voting no.
Okay, so Al voted no. Everyone else voted, yes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. All right. The motion does pass.
All right, so the next is the early voting centers, and again, my hope was to move it to the larger facility, Middle River, that's very close to Victory Villa. I could not, that I couldn't get that to happen. So we're going back to the same 11 early voting sites that we used in 22 and in 24. As you know, Maryland law requires us to establish at least 11. We can't have, it permits us to have one more, but unfortunately, this election cycle, due to limited equipment and resources, we can't add that 12th center, but it is a plan for 2028 for the next election cycle. When I order the new voting system equipment, I'm going to make sure I order enough for a 12th center. So the considerations that I took when establishing the early voting centers included ability for the different variety of community types, also transportation, proximity of the early voting centers to the dense concentration of voters or voter density. The requirement is we have to reach at least 80% of our voters living within a 5-mile radius of the early voting site throughout the county. Our percentage is higher than 93%, so we more than meet that requirement. We also are required to distribute the early voting centers equitably throughout Baltimore County. I need to also consider things about whether there's a place for if voters are waiting in line, is there enough room at the different stations? I have to consider whether the voting room is large enough for the equipment. I determine if it has a generator, and if not, am I going to be able to have a generator on site in the event that we lose electricity? I also have to consider security, like outside cameras and things like that. We've completed the surveys on all 11 early voting sites, and they more than meet all of the specifications, with the exception of Victory Villa. I wish it was bigger, but it's not. But Amanda and I have some thoughts on how we can mitigate the voter turnout. In 2024, the voter turnout at Victory Villa surprised everybody, which was one of the reasons that drove my desire to find a larger location. But since that didn't come to fruition, now Amanda and I have come up with some ways where we can help with line management and help with the crowd, make sure that we keep the voters out of harm's way from lining up in the parking lot and things like that. So the 11 final centers that I'm recommending include Arbutus Recreation Center, Randallstown Community Center, Towson University, Honeygo Run Community Center, Waters Edge Community Center, Victory Villa Community Center, the Maryland State Fairgrounds, Reisterstown Senior Center, Woodlawn Community Center, Jacksonville Recreation Center, and then here at the office in Owings Mills. I sent the board the new revised maps, and again, because it was so close to Middle River, that 95% that we touch, our 95% reach to our voters, we're maintaining that, having it at Victory Villa. And we also consider, you can tell by the maps that we are reaching and considering voter density, the minority population, which is why we have more sites on the west side. If you look at the minority population map, you can see that that we really had to take that in consideration on the west side of the county. We also considered household median income, making sure that our voters have a convenient place to vote. And then finally, I considered voter turnout, historical voter turnout. And you can tell that we also make sure that we're covering that by that map, the voter turnout map. So that is my presentation for the 11 early voting centers that we will use during early voting for 2026. Now I would like to speak quickly about the alternate site locations. This is not due to the state until March, but I thought, why not? Let's go ahead and get this all done now and submit our 11 and our 2 alternates. We've never had to use an alternate site, knock on wood, and I don't believe any other county ever has had to either, but we always make sure that we have an alternate on each side of the county, one on the east and one on the west. So my recommendation for the alternate sites include the Owings Mills Library for the west side. We've used the Owings Mills Library several election cycles as an early voting center. And when when the building was built in Owings Mills, we brought it to our office location. The library daily activities and traffic is not affected by early voting because we use their 3rd floor meeting rooms, and there is an entrance to that early voting that the early voting room directly from the 3rd level. And we put up signage to direct people into the garage and where to park on the 3rd level, so they walk straight through that door and to the voting room. For the west side or east side of the county, I'm recommending Stembridge Community Center. Last election cycle, we used Back River, which is a little bit further out on the east side. So bringing it in to Stembridge will be closer and better serve our voters. Both locations are centrally located. There's plenty of parking, and they meet all requirements of that we need to follow, as well as considerations for an early voting location. So with that, I'll take questions. You can close that now.
Any board members have any questions? I won't ask for questions from the public, but I will ask for any comments from the public. Are there any comments on what Director Lavoie has just mentioned? Any public comments? All right, seeing none, then we will go back to the board. Any further questions from the board? If not, it would be okay for a motion to be made. If someone is willing to make a motion on what was just presented. This is the early voting center locations and the alternate.
I move we accept the early voting locations and alternates.
That's Al, right? Yep, okay. Perfect. Thank you, Al. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, that's
Derek.
Derek, right? Perfect. Any further comments or questions from the board? If not, all those in favor, please signify with a hand raise or a yes. Aye.
Yes,
Aye.
Yes.
yes.
All right, I believe that's everyone, but I'll check. Is there anyone against? Perfect. All in favor. Thank you. And then Rui, would you like to move down to the polling place locations? I'm following the, do I have the right agenda?
Yes, you have the right agenda.
Okay.
So thank you, President Fuhrer. Insofar as the polling place locations, what I'm requesting from the board, and I'm also recommending it, and I need it, is I need you to officially on record, direct me to request a waiver, because state law requires us to have our complete election plan 7 months before the primary election, but obviously due to redistricting, I'm not able to provide that third part of our election plan as far as polling places on election day. So I am asking the board to motion and put on record, directing me to request that waiver. And as I was explaining earlier when I talked about redistricting, I'm hopeful to have the plan ready for you to review and receive public comments by your January meeting.
Right. We've all heard the explanation from our director. Is there any further questions or comments? All right. Would it be, you said it would be good to make a motion to to direct you to request a waiver?
Yes.
All right. Would anyone be able to make a motion as such?
So moved.
I make a motion that we require Director Roy to request a waiver as required by state law.
All right. So I did hear Al first. So Derek, will we
I'll
consider you
second
a
it.
second?
Shut that door, please, for me. He said yes, he did a second.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Any further conversation? If not, again, all those in favor on the board either signify with a hand raise or a yes.
Yes.
Yes,
All right. I think that's everyone, just to make sure. Anyone against? Perfect. Thank you.
Can't see that. No. All right, wonderful. So, President Fuhrer, I know that you're getting ready to go into closed session for a personnel matter, specifically my, evaluation. I have another personnel matter that I need to speak to the board about that just came about yesterday. So I would ask that for the closed session, myself and Amanda be allowed to be part of that closed session for, until I outline that person, and then I'll step out for the rest of it.
Yeah, I think that's fine. We already have mentioned that we publicly mentioned that we could go in the closed session, so it's been publicly announced. Any further business here, because once we go into closed session, when we come out of closed session, we will only come back to the open meeting just to close. So since there's no further business, I didn't want anyone from the public to stay on just for us to come back in and close a meeting, because there's no further business to discuss. All right, any problems with that? If not, since we did mention that we could go in the closed session, and we did mention that you just mentioned for personnel, the board did have personnel discussions. It's okay if we use that same reasoning, because it still falls under that same purview. It is 12:39, I think. Can we take a 5-minute break, maybe come back at 12:45 in the closed session? Because we've got to get on that other link, right?
Yeah, so we just need a motion and a second to go into the closed session, and then if you can call for the break, and yes, you have to join that other link. Amanda's gonna make you the host of that link so that you can verify no one joins and all that when I step out.
Yep, so that's
that
what I was
make
going to say.
sense?
Yep, if
Okay.
we can take a 6-minute break after we motion, and then everybody come back on that other link that Amanda sent out. So is there a motion from the board to go into closed session to discuss personnel?
I move that we go in to closed session.
All right, thank you, Laverne. It was motioned. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Al. It was moved and seconded to go into closed session. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of going in the closed session at 12:45, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, thank you. Let's all jump out of this meeting and come back in 5 minutes on that other link.